All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Just getting all ready here. All right. Back in my day, I used to be able to see who was in here. But I guess they want streaming to be anonymous now. I can't see who my one viewer is, but we're just waiting for some more people to come, and then we'll start getting into this second chapter. So yeah. Sure, why not? Okay. I like to pretend that Eagle decanter is full of fine scotch. It's empty. But, yeah. Oh, hi, Jordan. Jordan Ledger, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Ledger. I'm good, man. Good. How have you been? You're living here in the city, hey? I don't know, maybe I should just start, I guess. I was kind of thinking there might be a little more. I was thinking Quebec might show up, but yeah, I heard you're going to doing some carpentry stuff, hey? That's pretty sick. Well, I'm just gonna get started here. Nice. So is it like a written test, or do they actually just have you building something? Anyway, in the meantime, I'm gonna start getting this going. Hey, 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 bah. All right. No fucking around. I'm excited to read this book. So we just read the first chapter yesterday, and I'm just kind of excited to keep going. So we're going to read the second one today, but after that, we're probably going to space it out to something like once a week. So maybe next Sunday we'll read the third chapter, and so on, just to kind of, drink it in a little more, not really blow through it too quick. But then again, it's only like 10 pages, not even, 10 pages this chapter, so whatever. That'll be fine. So yeah. Because, I want to keep reading this for a while. I don't want to be over too quick. I'm going to drag it out, and, I don't know what I'm going to do after this is done. So, I built something in shop and exam online. Oh, nice. Yeah, we're living just beside 109th, just by White Ave, 85th Ave. I mean, yes, we are. Anyway. Yeah, I will record this as well for YouTube, but I'll do a quick little recap. I recorded the first chapter. I was going to upload it on YouTube for anybody to watch at any time or whatever. I haven't done that yet, so I'll do a quick little recap. The first chapter was essentially just introducing us to Forrest, and it's a very different from the movie so far. Very different. He pretty much just blows through his childhood. He ends up going to a special school. He had nothing to do with braces on his leg. And so he blows through to high school, where some football coach sees him and figures he'd be good on the football team, and he wasn't. But then he sees him running away from some bullies, and he's like, okay, well, maybe you'd be a good running back, or whatever they call it. Jordan might know what that is. And yeah, so that's what he started doing, and it ended with Forrest full on just punching out his bully, just like having enough of it, just giving him a smack down, and his mom is all like, hey, you're too big for that, Forrest, you can't be hitting nobody, and he's like, okay, Mama, I won't hit nobody. And that's pretty much how it ended. So then he made the all-state team or something. He made the all-state football team and was going to some banquet for some award. So that's where we left off. Central Park. Nice. Running back, thanks. Okay. Chapter 2. The all-state football banquet was to be held in a little town called Flomaton, what Coach Fellas described as a switch up the railroad tracks. We was put on a bus. There was 5 or 6 of us from this area who won the prize, and we was trucked up there. It was an hour or 2 before we arrived, and the bus didn't have no toilet. I forgot to press record, so I'm going to restart and press record for YouTube. Alright. It is the first paragraph, not a big deal. Alright, Forrest Gump, Chapter 2. The all-state football banquet was to be held in a little town called Flomaton, what Coach Fellas described as a switch up the railroad tracks. We was put on a bus. There was 5 or 6 of us from this area who won the prize, and we were trucked up there. It was an hour or 2 before we arrived, and the bus didn't have no toilet. And I had drank 2 Slurpees before we left, so when we got to Flomatony, I really got to go bad. I really had to pee. The thing was held at the Flomaton High School auditorium, and when we got inside, me and some of the others found the toilet. Somehow, though, when I go to unzip my pants, the zipper is stuck in my shirt tail and won't come down. After a bit of this, a nice little guy from a rival school goes out and finds Coach Fellas, and he comes in, and with the 2 goons, they trying to get my pants open. One of the goons said the only way to get it down is just rip it apart. At this, Coach Fellas put his hands on his hips and said, I suppose you expect me to send this boy out there with his fly unzipped and his thing hanging out. Now what kind of impression do you think that would make? Then he turned to me and said, Forrest, You just gotta keep a lid on it till this thing's over. And then we get it open for you. Okay? And I nodded, 'cause I don't know what else to do. But I figured I'd be in for a long evening. When we get out the auditorium, there's a million people all sitting their tables, smiling and clapping as we come out. We just put up a big long table on the stage in front of everybody, and my worst fears was realized about the long evening. Seems like every soul in the room got up to make a speech, even the waiters and the janitor. I wish my mama could have been there, 'cause she'd have helped me, but she's back home in bed with the gripe. Finally, it come time to get handed our prizes, which was little colored footballs. And when our names were called, we were supposed to go up to the microphone and take the prize and say thank you. And they also told us if anybody has anything else he wants to say, keep it short on account of we want to be getting out of there before the turn of the century. Most everybody had got their prize and said thank you, and then it come my turn. Somebody on the microphone called up Forrest Gump, which, if I hadn't told you before, is my last name. It's like the fucking dude just realized he hadn't said what his fucking last name was. No, he said it before. Okay. And I stand up and go over, and they hand me the prize. I lean over to the mic and say thank you, and everybody starts to cheer and clap and stand up in their seats. I suppose somebody told them beforehand I'm some kind of idiot, and they making a special effort to be nice. But I'm so surprised by all this, I don't know what to do. So I just kept standing there. Then everybody hushed up, and the man at the mic, he leaned over and asked me if I got anything else I want to say. So I says, I gotta pee. Everybody in the audience didn't say nothing for a few moments and just started looking funny at each other, and then they begun to sort of blow mumbling, and Coach Fellows got up and grabbed me by the arm and hauled me back to my seat. Rest of the night he'd be glaring at me, but after the banquet is over, Coach and the goons done take me back to the bathroom and rip open my pants, and I done peed a bucket. Gump, says Coach after I finished, you sure got away with words. Wow. Okay. Little break in the paragraph there. Take a little sip of coffee. Ooh. Now next year wasn't too eventful, except somebody put out the word that an idiot got himself on the all-state football team, and a bunch of letters started coming in from all around the country. Mama collect them all and start keeping a scrapbook. One day a package come from New York City that contained an official baseball signed by the entire New York Yankees baseball team. It was the best thing ever happened to me. I treasure that ball like a gold brick. till one day when I was tossing it around in the yard, a big old dog came up and grabbed it right out of the air and chewed it up. Things like that always happening to me. One day, Coach Fellas came in and take me into the principal's office. There was a man there from up the university who shook my hand and asked me whether I ever thought about playing football in college. He said they'd been watching me. I shook my head 'cause I hadn't. Everybody seemed to be in awe of this man, bowing and scraping and calling him Mr. Bryant. But he said for me to call him Bear, which I thought was a very funny name. Except he do look similar to a bear in some respects. Coach Fellas point out that I'm not the brightest person, but the bear, he said that is plenty true of most of his players, and that he figures to get me special help in my studies. A week later, he gave me a test with all sorts of screwy questions, the like of which I'm not familiar with. After a while, I got bored and stopped taking the test. Nice. Yeah, I just stopped. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm not doing it. 2 days later, though, the bear came back again, and I get hauled into the principal's office by Coach Fellas. Bear looking distressed, but he's still being nice. He asked me, have I tried my best on that test? I nodded my head, but the principal be rolling his eyes, and the bear said, well, this is unfortunate then, 'cause the score appears to indicate that this boy is an idiot. Jeez. The principal be nodding his head now, and Coach Fellas is standing there with his hands in his pockets looking sour. It seemed to be the end of my college football prospects. Another little break in the business. I'm gonna drop my shit over here. I got this. It's okay. Okay. The fact that I was too dumb to play college football did not seem to impress the United States Army none. It was my last year at high school, and in the springtime, everybody else graduated. They let me sit up on the stage, though, and even give me a black robe to put on. And when it come time, the principal announced they was gonna give me a special diploma. I got up to the microphone, and the two goons stand up and go with me. I suppose so I don't make no remarks like I did at the all-state football thing. My mama is down in the front row crying and wringing her hands, and I really feel good, like I actually done accomplished something. But when we get back home, I finally realized why she bawling and carrying on. There was a letter come from the army say I got to report to the local draft board or some such. I didn't know what the deal was, but my mama did. It was 1968, and there was all sorts of shit fixing to happen. Mama gave me a letter from the school principal to hand to the draft board people, but somehow I lost it on the way there. It was a loony scene. There was a big colored guy in an army suit yelling at people and dividing them up into bunches. We were standing there, and he'd come up and shout, "All right, I want half of you to go around there, and half of you to go over there, and the other half of you to stay put." Everybody milling around and looking bewildered, and even I could figure out this guy's a moron. They took me in a room and lined us up and tell us to remove our clothes. I ain't much for that, but everybody else done it, so I did it too. They looking at us every place. Eyes, nose, mouths, ears, shoulders, knees and toes, bent over, and when I do, even our private parts, yep, gross. At one point, they were all like, "Yo, bend over, Forrest Gump," and I was like, "Oh no." But then I did. Somebody jammed his finger up my ass. I'm not making this up. That's it. Yeah, they did that. I turned and grabbed that bastard and knocked him upside the head. There was suddenly a big commotion. And a bunch of people run up and jump on top of me. However, I am used to that treatment. I throwed them off and run out the door. When I got home and told my mama what happened, she's all upset, but she said, "Don't worry, Forrest. Everything's gonna be okay." It wasn't. Next week, a van pulled up at our house, and a number of men in army suits and shiny black helmets come up to the door, be asking for me. And I'm hiding up in my room, but Mama come up and say they's just want to give me a ride back down to the draft board. And all the way there, they was watching me real close, like I'm some kind of maniac. There was a door that leaded to a big office where there's an older man all dressed up in a shiny uniform, and he's eyeing me up pretty careful too. They set me down and shoved me another test in front of me, and while it's one hell of a lot easier than the college football test, it still ain't no piece of cake. When I'm done, they take me to another room where there's 4 or 5 guys sitting at a long table, and they started asking me questions and passing around what looked like the test I took. Then they all got into a huddle. When they finished, one of them signed a paper and handed it to me. When I take it home, Mama read it and began pulling at her hair and weeping and praising the Lord, 'cause it say I'm temporarily deferred on account of I am a numbnuts. Okay. What the fuck? So he's not going to fucking Vietnam? What the hell? Okay. Something else occurred during that week that was a major event in my life. There was this lady boarder living with us that worked down at the telephone company as an operator. Miss French was her name. She was a real nice lady, who kept mostly to herself, but one night, when it was terribly hot and there was thunderstorms, she stuck her head out the door to her room as I was walking by and say, "Forrest, I just got a box of nice divinity this afternoon. Would you like a piece?" Oh, God. And I said yes, and she'd bring me into her room, and there on the dresser is the divinity. She gave me a piece of it, and then she asked if I want another. Then she points for me to sit down on the bed. I must have ate 10 or 15 pieces of the divinity, and lightning was flashing outside, and thunder, and the curtains was blowing, and Miss French kind of pushes me and makes me lie back on the bed. She commences to start stroking me in a personal way. "Just keep your eyes closed," she said, "and everything will be all right." Next thing you know, there's something happening that had not happened before. I cannot say what it was because I was keeping my eyes closed, and also because my mama would have killed me. But let me tell you this, it gave me an entirely new outlook on things for the future. The problem was that while Miss French was a nice, kind lady, the things that she'd done to me that night was the kind of things I'd have preferred to have done to me by Jenny. And yet there was no way I could see to even begin getting that accomplished, 'cause what with the way I am, it is not so easy to ask anyone for a date. That is to put it mildly. But on account of my new experience, I got up the courage to ask my mama what to do about Jenny, though I certainly didn't say nothing about me and Miss French. Mama said she'll take care of it for me, and she called up Jenny's mama and explained the situation to her, and the next evening, lo and behold, who should appear at our door but Jenny Curran herself. She's all dressed up in a white dress and a pink flower in her hair, and she looks like nothing I've ever dreamt of. She come inside, and Mama told her to take her to the parlor and give her an ice cream float and call for me to come down from my room, where I had run to as soon as I seen Jenny coming up the walk. I'd have rather had 5,000 people chasing me than to come out of my room just then. But Mama come up and take me by the hand and led me down and give me an ice cream float too. That made it better. Aww. Mama said we can go to the movies, and she give Jenny $3 as we walk out of the house. Jenny ain't never been nicer, talking and laughing, and I'm nodding and grinning like an idiot. The movie was just 4 or 5 blocks from my house, and Jenny went up and got some tickets, and we went in and sat down. She asked me if I want some popcorn, and when she come back from getting it, the picture done started. It is a movie about 2 people, a man and a lady called Bonnie and Clyde, that robbed banks. Shit. Oh no, am I going British? Well, it was that robbed banks, and they was some interested in other people in it as well. But it was a lot of killing and shooting and shit like that too. Oh my god. It seemed to me funny that folks would be shooting and killing one another that way, so I laughed a lot that went on, and whenever I did, Jenny seemed to squunch down in her seat a lot. Oh, that's embarrassing. Halfway through the movie, she was almost squunched down to the floor. I suddenly saw this and figured she had somehow fell out of her seat, so I reached over and grabbed her by the shoulder to lift her up again. As I did this, I heard something tear, and I looked down, and Jenny's dress is ripped completely open. Everything is all hanging out. I took my other hand to try to cover her up, and she started making noises and flail around wild-like, and me, I'm trying to hold her so she don't fall down again or come undone, and there's people around us looking back, trying to see what all the commotion is about. Suddenly, a fella come down the aisle and shine a bright light right on Jenny and me. But being exposed and all, she commenced to shriek and wail, and then she jumped up and ran out of the show. Next thing I know, 2 men come and tell me to get up, and I follow them to an office. A few minutes later, 4 policemen arrive and ask me to come with them. They show me to a police car, and 2 get in front and 2 get in back with me, just like it was with Coach Feller's goons, except this time we do go downtown. And they escort me to a room and jab my fingers onto a pad, and I get my picture taken, and they showed me, and then they threw me in jail. It was a horrible experience. I was worried all the time about Jenny, but after a bit my mama showed up and come in wiping her eyes with a handkerchief and twisting her fingers, and I know I was in the doghouse then. Damn. There was some kind of ceremony a few days later down to the courthouse. My mama dressed me in my suit and took me there, and we met a nice man with a mustache carrying a big purse who told the judge a bunch of things, and then some other people, including my mama, say some other shit, and finally it was my turn. The man with the mustache took me by the arm, so I stand up, and the judge asked me how all this done happened. I couldn't figure out what to say, so I just shrugged my shoulders, and then he asked if there's anything else I wanted to add, and so I says, I gotta pee, 'cause we've been sitting there almost half a day. Holy fuck. And I'm about to bust. The judge, he leaned forward from behind his big old desk and peered at me like I'm a Mars man or something. Then the fellow with the mustache speaks up, and following this, the judge tells him to take me to the toilet, which he does. I look back as we leave in the room and see poor old mama holding her head and daubing at her eyes with the handkerchief. Anyway, when I get back, the judge be scratching his chin, and he said the whole deal is very peculiar, but that he think I ought to go in the army or something, which might help straighten me out. My mama informed me that the United States Army won't have me, account of I'm an idiot, but that this very morning a letter done come up to the university saying that if I will play football for them, I can go to school there scot-free. The judge say that sounds kind of peculiar too, but it's okay with him so long as I get my big ass out of town. The next morning, I'm all packed up, and Mama, she take me to the bus station and put me on the bus. I was looking out the window, and there's Mama crying and wiping her eyes with her handkerchief. That is getting to be a scene I know too well. It is stamped permanent in my memory. Anyway, they started up the bus, and away I went. And that's the end of chapter 2. Fuck, that takes some concentration and some vocal cords. So yeah, I think I'll definitely wait till next week to do the next chapter, but yeah, hope you enjoyed. Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump. So far so good. Kind of fucked up. Totally different from the movie.